Hey, Shawna, if I'm looking to start a new weight loss or transformation journey, where do I start?
I think the best place to start is at the things that you shouldn't be doing. That will help us determine what you should be doing.
Makes sense. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski, and together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey. Alli, there are just so many things that women are doing in an effort to get healthier, lose weight, get fit, and it just sort of breaks my heart a little bit.
For sure. I feel the same. It can be a little maddening even, even for us as coaches. And so one of the things we decided to hop on today and talk about is like what are the mistakes? What are the mistakes that we see ladies in particular making that are keeping them from or frustrating them, upsetting them, not getting them to their goals, and just making that kind of hamster wheel where you're just spinning and you're not really going anywhere. So we came up with 4 tips that things kind of not to do when you are on this journey. And so we'll start off, and I'll start with one, and we can talk about why this one is a challenge. And the mistake that I see women make, one of them is we try. We try to work out. We try to change our eating. We try to move more. We try to get more sleep. We try, we try, we try. And one of the things that I tell my clients is that try is a lie. Either we're going to do something or we're not going to do it. There is no in between. So if I tell you, hey, Shawna, please cook me, a 5-course dinner because I'm going to try to come by your house for dinner tonight. Like you're not going to be, spreading out the red carpet and going all in and making me some great meal because I told you I'm going to try. And try just doesn't mean anything. And one of the things why it's a problem, besides that it doesn't mean anything, is that it also keeps us from being honest with ourselves. Did we do it or did we not? Are we doing it or are we not? Are we doing it consistently? How often are we doing it? How often are we not? The second thing it does is that it also keeps us from celebrating when we actually do. Because I often find times when women tell me that they're trying, but when I dig deeper, they're actually doing some things. They're not doing some things and they're doing some things. However, they're not giving themselves credit for the things that they're doing because they're cheapening the things they're doing by calling them tries instead of do's.
Yeah.
And then we're being dishonest about how much effort and consistency we're putting in by when we say we try, but we're not really doing something consistently. So there's 2 different sides there.
Yeah, I think it's just not having specific um, goals. For example, like I'm going to try to eat better. What does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you measure when you've actually achieved that? And maybe, like you said, so this is an example. How do you measure when you've achieved your efforts at eating better, or you don't really notice when you're not eating well? It's just too vague.
Yes. Yes. And it's too vague, but it's so common. And I say the word try, but there's other words that fit in there. Like I want to, I need to. Those are the same kind of words. I need to. I told a lady this morning, well, I need to, clean my garage out, but I'm not going to.
I have
So
no
why
solid
do I need to
plan.
say that? It just makes me feel guilty when I use the tries and the needs. It actually puts guilt on us, and we just don't. We're not celebrating what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that ties into what I was going to mention, and that is that um, when women are looking to lose weight or get fitter, then they have this grand plan that I'm going to cut back on sugar, no wine. I'm going to walk every day. I'm going to work out 5 times a week. And so they set these unrealistic expectations and the bar so very high that they're just doomed to fail.
One of those things we really underestimate how hard it is to do just make one little change. And instead we think we're going to tackle all these things. We're going to work on our eating, we're going to work on our exercise, we're going to work on our strength training, we're going to work on our sleep, we're going to work on our stress. We're going to all these, and that falls under what you're talking about of doing too much.
Yeah.
It's a
And
lot.
in a perfect world, yes, all those things would be great to change, but people underestimate how just getting 15 minutes more or a half an hour more of sleep every night would compound over time, or that doing a 5-minute workout 5 days a week is better than a half an hour workout 1 day a week, or no workouts. People discount move, I call them movement snacks, where you can just, you just move your body, or just getting more steps in. These are not big things, and it's kind of like building a muscle. First, you might just start by adding more water and do that for a couple weeks, 2 weeks. You'll probably find that you're more satiated, you're more energized. And then once you're in the habit of drinking more water, then take on another habit. Like, I'm going to try and get to bed by 10 p.m. Even if I'm not asleep, but I'm going to try and have my butt in my bed at 10 p.m. And then maybe I'm just going to read a book. So then that's going to set the scene for better sleep.
It's like,
And
don't try, do it or don't.
correct. Yes. So then set that goal, and then have a tracker
Hmm.
where, you could be doing this yourself. You could be accountable to a coach by this, but just, put something up on the fridge where you get to give yourself a check mark, where you can look back on the last month and say, hey, I actually got to bed 25 days out of 30 before 10 p.m. And then you can celebrate that. And then you can also connect the dots between, you know what, I slept better. I didn't munch as much. I had better energy. That enabled me to get to my workouts. So sometimes, like, more sleep, or, working on one small habit is like a gateway to being able to do the other habits.
Yes, yes. So that second mistake is not doing too much, but just picking that just a little thing. And it allows us when we do too much, or we try to do too much, or we take on all these different areas, it also makes it where we really don't recognize the wins. Again, we
Mhm.
don't recognize the wins because we're attempting too many different things. And so we miss how we were successful, even if it was today.
Yep.
Today I was successful at A. And I missed that because my goal was A, B, C, D, E, and F. So I don't even celebrate that I
I
accomplished
did A.
A. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of all or something, because so many people will, if they've decided that they have to do these 5 things and they get 1 and 2 done, they don't celebrate that they got 1 and 2 done. Like you said, they beat themselves up for not getting the other 3 done. And when the first 2, all or something, that's going to move them closer to their goals. But most people just end up throwing in the towel and then do nothing.
And let's talk a little bit, dig into the why people might do too much, kind of the mindset that leads us to take on or go in, 0 to 60. What are some of the things that I'll definitely share? One of the ones that I've most recently was kind of a aha, but what are some of the maybe a common reason?
People are well meaning and they're zealot about getting results. And so they think if I'm all in, the results are going to come faster. But the results are going to come when the results are going to come, and there's no way to speed it up. It is a long, arduous, slow process.
Yeah. 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 So one reason, yeah, we want to get results fast. And the aha that I had dealing with a client, we did another couple of podcast episodes called Sorry for Being Fat. So if you haven't checked those out, go back and listen. But we talk about the 100 pound plus club, clients that have 100 pounds or more to lose. And one of my new clients in the 100 pound plus club gave me an aha about this, why she takes on too much and why she comes into her workouts and is just killing it and trying to do everything, even though she's new, she hasn't been exercising, she hasn't been doing anything, but now she comes in and she's doing, like, I'm going to do extra sets, I'm going to do extra exercises, I'm going to go after the workout, I'm going to add some more exercises. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And her reason was kind of a aha for me. She said, I don't want you to think that I'm lazy. And so in her mind, we have these little voices in our head. And in her mind, I was gonna think if she's not going all in, doing too much, that I was gonna think that she is lazy, or maybe the other ladies in the session are gonna think that she's lazy. And what a lie that is! I think, oh my gosh, you're gonna be so sore. You're not gonna be able to move. This is not gonna go well. I'm thinking that, but in her mind, she's worried that I'm gonna. So what her thought is that I'm gonna be thinking, and what in reality I'm really thinking, could not be further from each other. However,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter because that's what she's thinking. So, it really helps to get into our mind and really evaluate why are we falling for that? Why are we falling for the I've got to do so much? What is our
Yeah.
reason for that? And does it really make sense?
Yeah, and I find that there's, I have a wedding coming up. I've got a reunion. I want, there's a deadline.
Mm,
When actually, like, and you know what? Whatever gets people motivated to start getting healthy is great.
yeah.
But putting that deadline and then, okay, that deadline comes and goes whether you made it or not, are you still going to keep with the healthy habits? Like, I would like to have people expand their why in terms of like, why do I want to get healthy? I just want to get, like, I would like people just to get healthy because they're going to have better quality of life over the long term rather than, hey, I'm just going to look hot in this dress. It's probably not a powerful enough reason why to not sink into bad habits. But say you're going to become a grandparent or a parent and you have a deep desire to be around for your kids or to get up and down off the floor with your grandkids or you know those to me, maybe I'm just that's my bias, but seem like a deeper reason
Mhm.
for being able to sustain habits when the going gets tough because the going gets tough.
Yeah, there's a good quote that I love that says, motivation is what gets you started, and habit is what keeps you going. And so the
Yeah,
motivation could be that dress that you want to get into, but that's for one day. And then what? And so that's that, initial motivation. But yeah. So, and that is the hope is when people do get going, that they'll develop some of those other whys. Their whys deepen as they start
yeah,
seeing them feeling better. And so
yeah,
that
yeah.
is part of that. And so doing too much, what's another mistake folks are making?
Well, I think that the reason why people do too much often is because it's like, well, I've got this drop dead date that I'm in a bikini at this time, or they want results fast is one of the reasons. And then that results in lack of patience in seeing the results. So,
Mm,
like we've all seen the memes of somebody that's like, I've been on this diet for a week. Like, why have I not arrived yet? Like, why there's nothing happening yet? So it's not sticking with things long enough and knowing that the results cannot come fast. Like it's what you learn in the process of getting those results that help you keep the results. That's the one of the big wins of why it takes us a long time to achieve weight loss or lasting weight loss and sometimes you might be looking for weight loss and you get on the scale, but you've totally not noticed that, hey, I'm not winded when I go up and down the stairs. Or you're not noticing that, oh, my pants fit a bit looser because you have this narrow view of what success is. So we really need to expand our horizons of what success and results are and find those little wins.
yeah. So lack of patience and the unrealistic the unrealistic mindset that goes along with that of what should we be getting in and what amount of time does this take. I know that you hear this often and I hear this with clients, the expectation of how, like, of course we use the scale, and we have a couple of other podcasts that talk about the scale, and we have one called the number one reason I'm not losing weight, so that is a good one to go back and listen to. um the other thing is that with this lack of patience, when we're focused on weight loss on the scale, we also have a lack of patience with what the scale does and how quickly it does it. So, if we're losing a half a pound or a pound in a week, we just think that that's, or what I have clients that just don't think that that's fast enough.
Yeah.
They just think that that is just ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not hardly losing any weight. And as their coach, I get more excited when they're losing a half pound to a pound a week because I know that they're losing good stuff and they're not losing the tissues that we want to keep, the good tissues. But when we are in that lack of patience and lack of understanding that goes with that, it really is a mistake and it leads us to just the opposite thinking of what is really going to get us the ultimate goal, which is to look and feel better, regardless of what the scale says, the number on the scale. But we want to be a different size. We want to be more more capable, more fit. We want to be smaller. We want to be tighter, more tone, more strength. And yet we hone in on that one thing,
Just the
and
number.
our lack of patience with that number and being really obsessed with that is a challenge that I see people struggle with that really will kill your ultimate, it will kill you getting to your ultimate goal if that is, the mindset.
Well, and especially, when anybody is losing weight, they're going to lose weight and then they're going to stall out. And they think, "Oh, this is a plateau. This is bad."
Mhm.
But if you are maintaining a lower weight, that's just your body getting adjusted to that lower weight. And though the weight stays the same for a little while, that's when you have to really stick with your habits, because and it's so funny that what typically happens is people will sabotage themselves. So, there's that saying that if you had a flat tire, would you go fix the flat tire or would you go slash the other four or the other three tires? And when you are in a plateau and you're like, "Oh, what the heck?" And then you kind of go off plan, that's literally what, not literally, figuratively, what you're doing is slashing the other four tires, because of course you're not going to make progress when you sabotage your results that way. So that's when you just have to be more stubborn than your belly fat or wherever the fat is sitting. And that's when you really have to be patient. And when we have to look at other um, non scale victories.
Yeah,
And
and learn to celebrate what people call plateaus, because I think that, that you call it, people call them plateaus. I don't necessarily look at a plateau. I celebrate those because I know that those are such a necessary part of getting to the next level of where you want to
yeah,
go to moving.
yeah,
And so you're right that, and I see this so many times when people get there and instead of understanding that it's a celebration and it's a good thing and it's your body getting used to this new place versus where you used to be, we sabotage ourselves and go
yeah.
backwards, and we make it so much harder on ourselves than we really have to, just
And,
because of lack of understanding and
and
that impatience.
the problem is that, people are sold on these, I'm going to lose 20 extreme diets. I'm going to lose 25 pounds this month. And then, how can you be happy with losing 4 pounds or 5 pounds in a month, which is like, maybe that's pretty aggressive. A pound a week is like such amazing progress. Half a pound to a week is amazing progress. But you see these extreme diets where people are losing like massive amounts of weight, where they're losing muscle, they're
Yeah.
losing bone density, and then 95% of people can lose weight, but they can't maintain it.
Mhm. Yeah, and even with the weight loss drugs now, we're seeing that a lot of muscle loss. You're losing weight with the different diabetes drugs, weight loss, that class of drugs like the Ozempics, the Wegovy, the Manjaro. Those are we're seeing that. And then with clients that are losing a pound to a pound or half a pound to a pound a week that are working out and they're changing their eating and getting in good amounts of protein, carbs, they're getting their food in balance, fat, they're getting the right balance of all those things, that is a visual change. Like, you can visually look different week to week when you're doing that.
Yeah,
Versus, regardless of what the scale says, it's pretty amazing the change, the visual changes that those clients are getting versus the ones that are just losing weight on the scales. Which,
yeah,
yeah, you'll get visible change as well. It's just not going to be the same. And it is also going to do different things to your metabolism and your muscle. You're going to lose more muscle tissue. So, yeah, not having patience can really wreck your metabolism, wreck your body composition,
yeah,
and
yeah.
wreck your mindset.
Yeah, it can really kill your spirit to have
Mhm.
lost weight and then just to see it come back on. And then you're actually in a worse position because if you've lost a lot of muscle and bone density, that takes a long time to build back. And that also means that, if you're playing the scale game, like I just need to live in a smaller body, you're always going to feel like you're losing because actually some of my clients, I want them to either maintain their weight or even put on a little bit of weight, especially the slighter people that just want to get toned. Getting toned might look different in the mirror than it does on the scale. Like they might drop down 5 pounds, but look worse in the mirror. They might maintain their weight or put 5 pounds on and actually look better because they've got some muscle on their bodies. And, muscle is metabolically active. It takes more calories to maintain. And when you lose that, you lose your calorie burning potential. So then you basically get fatter on um, fewer calories if you've lost some muscle. So,
Yeah,
which we're going to do as we age anyway, especially if we're
right.
not resistance training.
So it's even much more of a challenging or problematic thing for us aging ladies
Yeah.
to go on restrictive eating just to hit numbers on a scale. Yeah.
Yes.
So what
Yes.
is that? So we've talked about trying, not trying, talked about doing too much. We've talked about lack of patience. What else you got for us? What are the mistakes?
I think,
Mistakes.
and we discussed that there's often a disconnect between our habits and our goals. So we might want to, lose weight or get toned or get fit, but then we don't back those up with consistent habits, knowing that, like, there's so many women that think, well, I'm not really going to address the nutrition piece. I'm just going to go for a run. I went for a run, so I earned this piece of cake. Like you can never
Right.
outrun, exercise,
Train. No. Yeah. A
uh,
piece of
uh,
cake. A
yeah,
piece of
or
cake.
nutrition
Cookies.
that's not supportive. And so there has to be this holistic approach of, what are your goals? And then you have to have a habit to back those up consistently.
Yeah, yeah. And for some people, one of the things that we talk about, and we don't want to, I think, clarify this maybe, is we don't like to say, oh, you can never have a certain thing when we're working with clients. You can never have cookies or you can never. And when before you and I came on the podcast, we were just chatting about this and we were talking about it's really different depending on the person. Like it's really individual as to what you can and can't do when
Yeah.
you are wanting to reach certain goals. Because some people might, I've been on this journey for years as far as working on my eating, and you've been on this journey for years and years. I can at this point, now this might change as my metabolism changes as I get older. At this point, I could have a cookie or a piece of cake and I'm going to be fine, Shauna. I am at a place in my journey where I can do that and I can get back on track and it's not going to be a setback and it's not going to be something that I just, and maybe even if I go down a little rabbit hole, I'm going to come back. It's not something I'm going to just go off the edge of the cliff. That's just where I am in my journey. I haven't always been there, but that's where I'm at. And but however, there are clients that that's not where they're at. And if
Yeah.
they have that piece of cake or they have that cookie, or they go get the Girl Scout, cookies and tell their if they go to that favorite restaurant, they're not at a place yet in their journey where that is going to be a one and done, or okay, I can do this and then I'm going to get right back on track. That can be I'm going to do this and I'm going to be off track for years. I may never get back on track. I may spiral out of control. And so knowing ourselves and, where we are with
Yeah.
that will help us to keep our habits congruent with our goals, congruent with where our mental ability to handle
Yeah.
changes and kind of veering off path, how that fits for us as individuals.
Yeah. Because habits are, it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
You just get better at applying your habits or your muscle over time. And you just build on them, and so that kind of comes back to the doing too much. Like if you're trying to do all these things, you're just not going to have the energy to master those things. But if you just choose one and practice and practice, it's like, okay, I always have this water bottle with me, and it's never a problem. Or when we're working with clients, we're trying to get them to increase their protein, and at first it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm eating a cow every day. They don't have the practice of finding, oh, well, what are good and healthy, palatable protein sources for me. And then over time they have practice in hitting their protein goals, and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
uh, and that's, like building your workout routine, or hey, I've got this walking habit. People discount just the value of that. We did that podcast on meat,
Mhm.
just how valuable like those small things are. So build your habit muscles, and choose small habits to build them with, rather than set these lofty goals but then have incongruent habits that don't support the goals.
Yeah, and when you do that, one of the things that I know about, like we interviewed Iris, the 80-year-old bodybuilder, and she's not sitting around eating cake, and that's because she's built these habits that And I know for me, there were times when I couldn't have certain things, especially when I was dieting and I was deprived because I was getting ready for fitness competitions, which takes you into that deprivation zone. And then when you get after a competition, it's really hard to control. If you have a little bit of something, you're going to want more and more and more. And so now, even now, just as part of my journey, I say I can go have a piece of cake and I'm going to be fine. But I don't put myself in that situation
Very
regularly at
often.
all. Very, very seldom, because I still have that fear. I still have enough knowledge to know that, yeah, just because I can, I do have some ability to do this and some good habits, I could also go off the rails. So I still manage that and weigh that, and it's still something that is not that I still do it in a very controlled way if I'm going to veer off of my normal habits.
Well, I think it's all about setting yourself up for success. Like
Yeah.
just because you could say no to, say, your flavor favorite, say it's ice cream. Like, are you going to pack your fridge with ice cream? Because you cannot rely on willpower. Temptation is going to get you when
Yep.
you're tired, depleted. It's so just set yourself up for success by, yes, you can have ice cream, but you don't have to have your fridge stocked with it 24/7. Yeah, it can be a treat when you go and get it. And then, that I think that's one of the ways people that are successful with their weight loss, they've set up their environment in such a way that the habits are easy to do. There's less friction in getting them done. Like their gym bag is by the door, or they've packed their lunch before so that it's just in the fridge and grab and go. So they're not going to restaurants in the daytime. Like these are small things that oftentimes, like those that are successful with on their health journey, they just do those things.
Mhm.
And people that are on, like, starting out on a journey and don't have these habits well established, those are the things that you have to practice. And
Mhm.
then once you get good at, establishing those habits, then your weight loss or your weight maintenance, once you've lost weight, becomes easier.
And I want to say not just weight loss, but also people that are just working to maintain size. like
Mhm.
yourself, like me, like Iris, who we interviewed, like Sandy, the people that you like Sandy mentioned in her interview, Sandy Zimmerman, our interview with her, she mentioned, I just stay ready. I don't have to get ready for something because I stay ready. And that's where, when you become pro, what I call kind of pro status at this, it's where you do develop these habits and it is a way of life. And you don't have to get ready. You don't have to lose what like you're there and you're able to maintain that. So if you had a wish for our listeners, Shauna, what would your wish be?
I was just going to ask you that myself. Yeah. So I think for our listeners that are looking to get healthier, lose weight, is to do some like to get to know themselves in terms of like what is your why, and then to set like realistic stepping stones. Know that you're going to get there, but it's going to take some time. And, it never ends. It only ends when you die. So, just stop starting over and just keep going with the small habits over time.
Love
Probably
it.
getting some support along the way to get the ball rolling is helpful as well. What's your wish?
My wish would be figuring out why, look at these mistakes that we've listed and figure out why if you've done this in the past and you can relate to some of these, thinking about what's going on in your head, like the client who said, I just don't worry that you're going to think I'm lazy. Like get to the real root of what is the message that's going on in your head that is causing you to make these mistakes so that you can do it different. Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.